Alrighty. Well, we're back. This is the IDP Guys Start Sit show. I am Nathan at Nate Cheat on Twitter, co-owner of the IDP Guys. I am sitting in for Mr. Sicoli himself and Mr. Gilliland. Grant and Michael couldn't make it this week, so I'm here to direct the traffic, make sure everything goes well, and take the heat because last week I was in the chat and dishing it out. So Ricky's got some rebuttals for me. But let's kick this bad boy off with a little you know, we've been doing this for 7 weeks now. This is the 7th week, and I don't know how much have we heard from Ricky and Sean about like where they can be found, what how to a little bit of backstory. We're gonna wait for a couple more questions to come in, but Sean, tell us a little bit about like how you got into IDP and where people can find your content.
Oh wow. So yeah, I've been playing IDP for probably 20, 21 years. Uh, I was playing fantasy in high school and stumbled across it and fell in love with it right away. I've always gravitated towards defensive players and just loving that side of football, and that's how I got into it. And it wasn't until maybe 4 years ago or so I got on Twitter, started branching out, trying to, because there wasn't a whole lot of sites to find back when I got into it. There was literally nothing. So, uh, long story short, I ran into Gary Davenport in a Yahoo league and basically followed him all over the place. So Twitter, and then boom, I ran into the IDP guys, IDP Nation,
Mm-hmm.
football guys. I mean, just everywhere. So uh, during the whole COVID thing, you guys were doing the IDP Lounge, and I really enjoyed that. So I've been pretty much hanging with you guys ever since, and just started writing this past off season.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we appreciate having you. And yeah, you've been in our chats for a long time and greatly appreciate you on the show here, Sean. IDP Diddy Combs. Love the name. Let's go over to you, Ricky, kind of waiting for these comments, questions to come in for everyone out there watching. Get your start sit questions in. We're going to answer every single one of them, go down the line. But Ricky, tell us a little backstory on who you are and how you got into IDP.
Well, I started a few years ago listening to Sirius XM radio, Football Diehards, when the show's on there. Started a IDP league with 16 industry experts and 16 listeners. And at the time, I was one of the listeners, got in, and first time I'd ever played IDP, and I won it the first year and made it to the finals, and unfortunately lost to Mike Dempsey the second year. But I got hooked on IDP through that. And it was through that doing research online, I came across Nathan and the IDP Guys website, and now proud to say I'm a co-owner of the IDP Guys website with Nathan, and he's a terrific partner, and we have some great stuff on the site, and glad to have everyone as part of the show today.
Awesome. Yes. All right. So we have a question queued up specifically from Michael Sicoli that we're going to kick off the show with here. Uh, what is the ideal outcome for Brian Burns and Daniil Hunter? Stay, get traded? If so, where? Let's start with you, Sean.
So I think Daniil Hunter is best left on the Vikings team. He's kind of threatened to hold out, or you know, basically asking for more money, and they've given in every time. So that makes me think they want to keep him. He's still a part of their plans. Brian Burns, on the other hand, is just wasting away on a terrible team that doesn't look to be going anywhere anytime soon. So I would like to see him traded to maybe one of these playoff teams, or potential playoff teams that is just an edge rusher away. Maybe your Lions would be a good fit. They could use somebody on the other end of Hutchinson there. Uh, Baltimore would be the other. It's funny they're playing each other. Would be the other team I could see him being a real good fit. And we seen them trade last year, midseason for Roquan. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities there.
Gotcha. What do you say, Ricky?
I have to congratulate Sean on getting the last part of his answer being correct. Uh, yeah, I can see both of these gentlemen potentially in Baltimore. I think would be a great fit for either one of them. They do need an additional edge rusher in that tough AFC North division. It would be a big help for both of them. I think Carolina messed up last year when the Rams offered him 2 firsts and a either second or third for Burns, and they turned it down. So I don't see them getting that this coming year. I think Hunter's the one that likely gets traded, though. The Vikings are a hot mess right now. Don't see them winning again tomorrow night against San Francisco. Their season's just going down the toilet. You got Kirk Cousins going to be a free agent. I just see them trying to do their best to get what they can for some of their talent that has some sort of value, as opposed to losing them in free agency. I just can't see that. That they're thinking that next year we're going to be competing for the Super Bowl. So I see Hunter being traded.
Gotcha. Oh, all righty. Well, we've got some questions coming in. Let's get to them. And kicking it off, this guy came in before we even went live. So I want to get his question here first. Dennis, he says, any word on Quay Walker?
Still questionable last I've seen.
Yeah, the word on Quay that I was because I have Quay Walker in one of my key leagues as well, and unfortunately right now they're saying it'll come to warm up time, so we'll just have to see how pregame warm-ups go. Unfortunately, he's in the 3 o'clock Central slate, 4 o'clock Eastern slate, and so if you wait to play him, you're going to need to have some sort of fallback. I'm personally taking the gamble at this point and thinking he will play. Because they had the bye week in between, but at this point, it's still open-ended until we hear more from pregame workouts.
Gotcha. All righty. All right. So, Steven Smith, he says, I'm in a world of hurt right now. Logan Wilson, Quincy Williams are on a bye, and now Ernest Jones might be questionable to play. And I don't have enough roster spots to pick up another guy. I don't want to drop Wilson, Jones, Wagner, Brooks, or Quincy Williams. There doesn't appear to be a question in there. What is your advice?
Yeah, I don't blame you, Steven. I wouldn't want to drop any of those guys either. And so it is kind of a bye-mageddon week with these 6 teams on bye, not to mention some of the injuries and questionables like Quay Walker, as we were just talking about. If you're out there right now, please give us more information, such as, is there someone out there on the waiver wire that you're contemplating? And then we can maybe talk about who you would drop versus one of these folks. Maybe there's something at a different position you can do. So give us a little bit more context, and we're happy to hop in and help you out there.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Will Z, Metellus or Dean in the flex? Sean.
I will go with Metellus this week just because of the way the Eagles started that weird 3-man rotation at linebacker this past week with Dean making his first start since being injured. I'm going to give that time to clear up and for him to get a full, snap share before I throw him back into my lineup. But Metellus has been on fire, playing in the slot. He's been great. So I would have no problem subbing him in for Dean this week.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
Well, going back to last week for a second and some of my prognostications that had come to mind, one of the things that we did call out was we're worried about, would Nakobe Dean be eased in, or would he be back to his full 100% share of snaps? And we cautioned against it, and we were right on that one because he only played roughly 50% of the snaps. So it was this weird trifecta between Morrow and Cunningham and Dean in terms of splitting the snaps. In watching things, I didn't get any indication that might change this week. So Sean is ding, 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 right again. Let's roll with Metellus on this one. Let's see how things play out with the linebacker core for Philadelphia this week. Another thing is Miami in terms of giving up points. Do not give up a lot of points to linebackers. And so that's another thing to keep in mind. So several reasons to go at Medalist this week. Let Philadelphia's linebacker situation play out.
Nice. All right, we got a second question from Will. Pick two. Be Young, or Gary, Phillips, or Van Ginkel, or any Denver DL. Sean.
Yeah. So I'm not trusting the Phillips Van Ginkel saga right now. That's just as messy as the Eagles linebacker situation at the current moment. Man, Gary still isn't getting a lot of reps right now either. So I'm kind of bummed out he hasn't been increased in his playing time. So I'm leaning Young in any Denver DL. So we talking Benito?
Zach Allen would probably be the only one that would. Benito is that's a great point.
I would not do Benito. Zach Allen's not terrible. I like Benito more than Cooper if you got all of them. But definitely Young. And I would take a chance on Gary before I would Phillips or Van Ginkel right now.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little bit more specificity on the Denver defensive line to see if he truly does have Benito or not. But I'd be leaning with the first two. I'm with you, Sean. Phillips and Van Ginkel. And, Phillips came back last week, but only played 43% of the snaps. But it almost felt like a little bit of that same thing with the Philadelphia linebacker core between those two as well. And do we see Phillips play more snaps, et cetera? So I'd want to avoid that for another week as well. Rashawn Gary, he's been slowly coming back from that knee injury from last year. They've been ramping him up every week. They're coming off the bye. I think this is the week that we see Rashawn Gary playing more snaps beyond just the pass rush snaps. And I do like Byron Young in this matchup as well. So I'd go with the first two on this list, Will.
Gotcha. There we go. All right. TM, which two safeties should I start this week? Bates seems like a clear number one. Which should I start among Metellus and Hamilton? Sean, what do you think?
I can't confidently say start Hamilton with his production this year. So I'm going to stick with Metellus as the other guy.
All right. What about you, Ricky?
Well, first, Sean, you are on fire today. I have to admit, man, maybe it's because Sicoli's not here or something, and it's Nathan hosting, but and I'm rubbing off on you more. But yeah, so Hamilton has had the one great week where he scored, depending on your scoring system, between 40 and 50 points with the 3 sacks and so forth. But it's been that 1 week, and that's been it. So Medalist has been more consistent. Last week he did have, they used him more in the pass rushing department as opposed to Harrison Smith, and was very successful in that. But he has been more stable, so with more points. So I'm going Medalist and Bates on that one as well.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna rewind back to the previous question. I got an update from Will. Browning and then Benito might lose snaps. Was thinking this was him.
So that was on the previous question here. Let's go back.
Which that question was picking Young, Gary, any Denver DL, Phillips, or Van Ginkel. I thought that was more clarification, but it might have been him conversing with someone else. Let's fast forward here to Fantasy Breakout. It says, hey guys, pick one. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Quiddy Pie, or Josh Sweat. And then for defensive backs, James, Blackman, or Slay. I'm assuming this is maybe one per position. That's what I'm going to go with. He's got a DL position and a DB position he wants filled.
The first one's a no-brainer to me.
What do you think, Sean?
Chase Young. That's who I'm taking. And the first one.
Did he get that right, Ricky?
Sean, you were doing so good. Actually, I would lean more Sweat than Chase Young, even though Sweat missed a little bit of time with his thumb. He's off the injury report now. Chase Young actually has more pressures than Sweat, but Sweat has turned more of his pressures into actual sacks and tackles. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Sweat, even with the thumb. But I could live with Chase Young. Those would be the two I pick from. And we're talking about the Giants offense, who. Okay, so we talked about it a little bit last week, but no John Michael Schmitz at center, no Andrew Thomas at tackle, no Matt Pert at tackle, Shane Lemieux backup guard on IR. I love. By the way, for people that didn't see the Justin Pugh introduction for the football game the other night, they usually say, "Oh, so and so from the Ohio State," or "so and so from LSU," which I should have gone with. And Justin Pugh says, Justin Pugh just off the couch.
Yeah.
And he is in their starting lineup on the O line. I can't say a name, Josh Adiwazu, whatever, got hurt. He went on the IR. Any Washington Commanders, if you could play them both, I don't know if there's options to play more than one. I'd be considering both Montez Sweat and Chase Young both.
Nice.
Got a little excited and passionate about that one.
Yeah. Well, let's go into the second part of the question.
Giants.
So what about a defensive back? Who are you picking between these three? James, Blackman, or Slay? Sean, start us off.
It's hard for me not to want to start Derwin James if I got him. Yeah, I'm a roll with James. He's your stud. You drafted him high for a reason, so start him.
Yeah, the good news too is I would probably pass on Blackman as well. Pretty low floor with Blackman. You can go with Derwin James, and if it turns out he is questionable, but he's in 3:00 slate. Big play Slay's in the nighttime slate at 7:20 tonight Central Time. So if Derwin James is rolled out, you could fall back to Slay. But I would want to take my chance and go with Derwin James on this one as well.
Gotcha. Nice. All right. Linebacker for rest of season. Dorian, Tuo, Perryman, Murray, or Damone Clark. What do you think, Sean? Who are you taking for the rest of the season?
Ooh, this one's a little tough for me. It's hard to trust Perryman right now. Toa is getting the playing time, but he's not running away with major stats either. I don't trust that Bills situation enough to fully endorse Dorian. I like what Kenneth Murray has been doing. He's been putting together a solid season. I think I would lean him, and then Toa Clark.
What do you think, Ricky?
For the rest of the season, I am with Sean on Murray. Murray, the light bulbs appears to have gone off. And what was interesting last week, Kendricks was back, supposedly 100% healthy, and Murray played the 100% of the snaps, and Kendricks played the 73% of the snaps, which previously it was flipped. So I think the light has flipped on, pun intended there. And with the flip of Murray, I would run with Murray on that one. I would go with Damone Clark over Toto, to be honest with you, in the number 2 spot. There's, Cashman played the bulk of the snaps at the mic, and Toto played more of the will spot. So I would go with Damone Clark as my second on that. And I'd probably go Dorian Williams third. I would probably have Toto and Perriman near the bottom of that.
Gotcha. There we go. Which 2 would you start in PPR? Evans, Flowers, Ford. Assuming these are.
So I'm pretty sure he's referring to Zach Evans, Zay Flowers, and Jerome Ford.
I was thinking Mike Evans on that one.
Ooh, TM, can you let us know for sure? I'm guessing if it's the reason I'm thinking it's Zach though is because if it was Mike Evans, I think Mike Evans is a clear play, and he probably would be discussing him for a flex. So I'm pretty sure it's Zach Evans.
Well, let's go under that, guys. So if it's those 3 players, which 2 are you starting, actually, Sean?
If it's Zach Evans, I'm taking Flowers and Ford. If it's Mike Evans, I'm taking Evans and Flowers.
Gotcha. So Ford's the third one, or the last one on this list for you then.
He is for me. Yeah.
What about you, Ricky?
I would agree with what Sean said, and I wouldn't be if it's Zach Evans. I'm staying far away. There was reports that came out late last night, and some people were sending that information out as well earlier today, that the Rams are expected actually to run with Rice Freeman and Darrell Henderson ahead of Zach Evans this week. Now, we'll see when it gets on the field, but there's a lot of reporting and noise coming out along those lines. People are saying, well, but Zach Evans was on the roster. Rice Freeman was on the practice squad. They signed Darrell Henderson. Why is it the case? But I think that Evans was a draft choice that they didn't want to risk losing to waivers, and they still wanted to develop, but they still don't trust him yet. So it sounds like they're going to run with Freeman and Henderson. So for everybody out there listening, just be sure and check that out. I wouldn't be running with Zach Evans in my lineup this week.
Got it. All right. How do you rank these defensive linemen? Anderson, Chase Young, Ed Oliver, rest of season. Sean, what do you think?
I would have Chase Young first, and then Will Anderson, then Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver hurt me bad with that goose egg last week, and I think he's out again this week. So just out of spite, he's dead to me. So yeah. I'm trying to be unbiased here, but no, I think I like the upside of Young and Anderson.
Got it. What about you, Ricky? What are you thinking?
Boy, Oliver has been a top defensive tackle all year. Granted, he didn't do as well last week, and he is injured this week. Anderson, you just see the progress every week. I watched some of the highlights against my Saints last week, and you could see he's getting close to turning some of that activity into actual results and all. So I'm going to run with Young and Anderson Oliver as well. In the back of my mind, the thing about Young is he's looking for a contract. And the more he's back from those injuries, the more comfortable he's getting. So I'm aligned with Sean on this one. I'd go Young, Anderson, and Oliver.
Got it.
Now, the one thing I tell TM on this is that now, if it's a defensive line position, it's one thing. If you're required to have defensive end and defensive tackles, if that's a requirement of your starting lineups, I would actually flip Oliver ahead of Anderson.
All right. There you go. All right. Now, Fantasy Breakout asks, one of my leagues has small benches. 2 members had to drop Autry and Brian Burns. Which one would you take rest of season? Who are you picking up, Sean?
I would pick up Burns just because I feel he has the bigger sack potential and he's going to be on the field the most. Autry is not a terrible backup. He hasn't gotten us the sacks the last several weeks, but his tackle numbers are pretty solid. But I think Burns is the guy rest of the season.
What do you think?
I'm aligned here. I'd go with Burns. The other thing about Autry, even though this isn't a dynasty league, it sounds like it is redraft, but Autry is into his early 30s now. And so when you start getting to that age, you worry about injuries and things along those lines. And he has had a little bit more of that this year. Let's go with the youth and the upside with Burns for the rest of the year.
Gotcha. All right. Which 2 defensive ends do I start? Thule, Baron Browning, Van Ginkel, Zaven Collins, or Benito? Pick 2.
This is
Sean.
a mess. I'm not trusting Baron Browning just yet. Thule for sure. I would start Thule. And then I'm down to Benito, possibly Van Ginkel, but I'm leaning Benito out of this group. Zach Collins hasn't done anything. Baron Browning, we have no idea what his playing time is going to be yet, so I can't trust that. Thule is the one for sure. I still think I'm Benito than Van Ginkel.
Gotcha. What about you, Ricky?
Yeah, I want to start off hitting. You flashed it a little bit earlier, but we really didn't get into that part of that follow-up question. And yeah, Browning is I didn't see that he was actually activated yesterday. I heard he was going to be, but I didn't actually see the official notification. Sean, I don't know if you did or not that he was activated. Let's assume for a moment that he is. Even if he is, last week they had Ronnie freaking Perkins, who the Patriots had on their practice squad, who was always hurt. He was the third linebacker. He got about 20-30% of the snaps, resting Benito and Jonathan Cooper on the edge there for Denver. So I see Browning once again, first week back, similar to Nakobe Dean. At least Nakobe Dean played week 1. This will be Browning's first game of the year. So I could see him being eased in for this week. I don't see him impacting Benito or Cooper in any way. So wanted to make sure we got that out first, tied to that previous one. Using that also tied to this, I'm not letting Browning impact me on Benito. So I'm running with Benito on this one. And Bose is supposed to be playing more snaps this week, but they love Tule, and you could see how they were playing him against the Cowboys the other night. They're moving him around and so forth. So I'm going Benito and Tule on this one.
So it does look like Browning has been activated off the pup.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Nice. All right. Which safety to start? Brisker, Branch, or Buddha?
Oh, let's go. I don't know what Buddha's going to do just yet. Brisker's been tough to trust all season outside of the big game last week. Branch looked great every time he was in there. I haven't looked into Branch to see for sure if he was playing. But if he is, I'm starting Branch.
Gotcha. What do you think? I'm going to look at Branch real quick to see if he's on the... He had a full participation in practice, so game status looks to be available. What do you think, Ricky?
Right. To me, this is down to Branch or Buddha. I did call last week for Brisker to get a sack. For those that took that to Vegas as a suggested, congratulations on your winnings. So typically, as I mentioned, particularly in some of these kind of muddled situations, like we talked about Philadelphia linebackers, I tend to want to hold off a week. But we're talking about the Cardinals and their secondary, and Jalen Thompson is out. If Buddha's active, I expect him in this particular situation to get 100% of the snaps. So while I do like Branch and all, I just have a feeling that Buddha's going to come back strong this week. Arizona desperately needs him to play. So I'm leaning towards Buddha on this one.
Gotcha. There we go. Bobby Carroll asks, can you start Kayvon Wallace with Buddha back? Jalen Thompson is also out. Thanks for the help. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, and I'm doing it in several leagues. Even that first game when all three were healthy, Wallace got plenty of playing time, and I believe he had 6 or 7 tackles that game as well. So it looks like that's probably their ideal formation, is to have all 3 safeties out there. So yeah, Wallace is good to go.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
Thumbs up with my buddy Sean here. Line with that. I'm very comfortable, particularly with Thompson out, but he's spot on with the 3 safety look that they've been doing. Now we will have to keep an eye on that because they have activated Garrett Williams, a draft choice that they were very high on. Not worried about it this week necessarily, but as we get into next week to see if they stick with the 3 safety. They just had so limited in cornerbacks that it was part of the reason they were going with 3 safety. So we'll just have to watch that carefully.
Gotcha. All right, we got some clarification from TM. Said Zay Flowers, Mike Evans, Jerome Ford. So just to reiterate, we said Mike Evans, Jerome Ford for this. Ricky, go for it. Tell me how I'm wrong.
I think we said Mike Evans and Zay Flowers. And TM, thanks for clarifying. And I was wrong on my assumption. You see, that's why you never assume, because you make a ass out of you and me. Yeah, so that's why we have to be careful about assuming. So thanks for clarifying. But yeah, I think we said Evans and Zay Flowers, correct, Sean?
Yeah, that was the initial diagnosis there with but my belief was Hunt was going to play and probably steal some of that time. Do you think it changes your mind?
Hunt is questionable. He was going to have a workout this morning as well. And so they did sign Jackson to the active roster yesterday. Not even just promoted him for the week, but they signed him to the active roster. So that has me concerned about Hunt's availability. So theoretically, Ford could be playing more. You'd have a good point there.
All right. Does that change your mind any on that?
No, it doesn't actually. I'm still sticking
Okay.
with Flowers and Evans on this one.
Got it. All right. Pick 2 from David Pasto. Devin White, Cole Holcomb, Quan Alexander, or Eric Kendricks. What do you think, Sean?
What do I think here? Devin White hasn't done a whole lot. Underperformed, I would think, by his standards. I would still roll him out. And then, man, the Steelers linebacking situation hasn't been very clear. 1 week it's Holcomb, 1 week it's Alexander getting the points. But I don't know if I dislike them less than Kendricks. I think I'm going to go with White and Holcomb. Blocking it in. Final answer.
All right, Ricky. Is he right or is he wrong?
Maybe he needs to phone a friend.
Yeah. I should have tagged Ricky. I knew it.
The thing with Devin White, and I don't know if people realize, and he's been playing with a foot injury, and so he's putting up solid stats, but not off the chart. Last week was really weird, where they had been playing Alexander, now switching over to the Pittsburgh side of things, been playing him a lot, but then Elandon Roberts ended up playing a little bit more this past week. Boy, this is a tough one. I think the Rams are going to end up throwing the ball a lot more, which means less Roberts and more Alexander, which is how they had been playing him for most of the season. So my gut says White and Alexander on this one. And it's not just because they both went to LSU, by the way, as a side note, but that is the right answer in this particular case. And I talked earlier about why Kendricks versus Murray and what happened there. So there's always a chance they could flip that back. But right now for this week, I'm going White and Alexander.
Got it. All right. Here's a thinker for you guys. TM, he has, what is wrong with Pete Werner and Kyle Hamilton? Both we're expected to have a good year and are good players. Is this all on the scheme or what they've been asked to do? Sean, what's your thoughts here?
So my thoughts on Pete Werner is he's just a guy. I don't see anything overly special on him. And just the way that defense works, Demario Davis, blitzing, so he gets a lot of the tackles up front there. We're going to see days where Warner gets more than that and has good games, but he's a lot of up and down. He's still young, but I don't see him as anything special. As far as Kyle Hamilton, I think a lot of that was just a lot of draft hype, and it's going to the Ravens, so he's an automatic IDP stud. When you have Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in front, eating up all those tackles, tackle-wise, it doesn't give him a lot of options or, a lot of opportunities past those guys. And then as far as coverage, he'll get some there. But outside of that one game where he had 3 sacks where they just blitzed him because they were so shorthanded in the safety area there. Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's just not a lot of some of those blitzes and stuff. So did I? Yeah. Am I?
You froze a little bit there.
Me or y'all? Okay. Internet spotted today, guys.
Yeah, it happens. What do you think, Ricky? What's your takes on these?
So I think we all thought that Hamilton would be playing more in the box and Marcus Williams would be playing more deep safety and so forth. And the reality, except for the one game where they used him because they had some injuries on the edge kind of thing, and since then they've signed Clowney and so forth. So and Owe is going to be back this week. So they're not pulling him up, and plus they're playing it back because they've had so many injuries at the cornerback position as well, and so they're having him play a little bit deeper to also help on that. So couple of different things have happened. And so while he's got the name, he's got the draft pedigree, they're just not using him in a way that's productive for IDP. So, yeah, I actually dropped Hamilton in the league this past week. Part was because of Mageddon, but part was when you eliminate the name and you just look at the production other than 1 week, it's like, God, this is horrible. So I moved on from him in the league. On the Pete Werner side of things, he does run a 4.5 40. He was productive last year. I don't know. Look, I'm a huge Saints fan. I don't know what to tell you on Werner. The scheme doesn't look to be that different when I watch, but he's just not getting the productivity. Now, something to note, last year, Caden Ellis got used a lot on blitzing, and that's what led to his lucrative contract with the Falcons, although the Falcons are playing him differently and now he's become a disappointment. The Saints generated 0 quarterback hits on Thursday night against Jacksonville. You had a quarterback with a bad knee, and they got 0 quarterback hits. On top of that, Demario Davis, who was playing slightly injured, only played a little bit over 70% of the snaps as well. So if there's one of these two that I have hopes on for the rest of the season, it's Mr. Werner. Whether it be Davis because of his age and the injury catches up and they move him to the Mike position, or they start blitzing him more to help to get more pressure on the quarterback and leveraging his speed. So that's all I can tell you right now. Werner's like a linebacker 4 right now. So I tried to trade from many leagues and wasn't successful. So I hear your pain, TM, but that's my thoughts and explanation, and Sean's as well, in terms of why we think they are where they are.
Makes sense. All right, Will Z. Jamal Adams or Metellus? What do you think, Sean?
I believe you have to start Adams here on this one, just with his usage and how they move him all around, play him up close. Yeah, he's the bigger superstar here. You would expect bigger things from him than you would Metellus.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
The totally unbiased LSU fan. Totally unbiased. Also is rolling with Jamal Adams. Sean has this one correct. And look, if you looked at how Dobbs started the year versus the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty bad. And the league has been slowly catching up with him. And okay, here's another one to take to Vegas. Jamal Adams will get a sack today on Josh Dobbs. Take that one to Vegas for you, and roll with Adams in this matchup.
Nice. There we go. Fantasy Sports says, how would you rank these safeties rest of season? Simmons, Hamilton, Metellus, and Kareem Jackson. What do you think, Sean?
Oh, right.
And I assume that's Justin Simmons, to make sure we're talking the same thing. So, and not Isaiah, because I'm pretty sure it's Justin.
Yes. So I think I would go Justin Simmons, Metellus, Hamilton, then Jackson. I imagine Jackson will eventually get thrown out of games for his antics or benched. So he's last for me on that.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
This isn't dynasty, but Kareem Jackson is in his 30s, and you got to think that it's, as we get later into the year as well, that Denver is going to give J.L. Skinner, their draft pick out of Boise State, an opportunity. Maybe put Turner Yell out there, who sucked, but was putting up great counting stats for the weeks he played. So I just think by the end of the year, with Denver in this rebuild mode and so forth, that Jackson gets played less. So I do have him 4th. We've talked about Hamilton, that puts him 3rd, and then I would roll with, as Sean said, Simmons 1st and Metellus 2nd.
Gotcha. All right. So we're going to take a brief second and peer into the future for this question. From Fantasy Breakout, he says, jumping into week 9, the Aluakun bye week, which one has the best matchup? Edmonds against the Saints or Quay Walker against the Rams? So putting on your, little tinfoil hat, Sean, what do you think?
Let's see here.
The hat gets turned around.
Yeah. I gotta think backwards there. I mean, Edmonds has a solid floor every week, but he doesn't offer much of a ceiling beyond 7 8 tackles. Quay Walker, I like better in this scenario because I do think he would be in coverage. Uh, we've seen him get interceptions before. I think that would be a big boost that week, plus the tackle ability there. So I like Quay Walker in this one.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
Well, Sean, I hate to tell you, I don't know if you got this one right, my friend. From a matchup perspective, if you watch the Jacksonville and the Saints game or any of the games since Saints are back, Derek Carr looks afraid to get hit. Derek Carr doesn't look like he can throw an accurate downfield pass. He loves, and as a Camara owner in several leagues, I am thrilled because he just, 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, right over the center is Camara making a catch, and there's a linebacker making a tackle. So, and you saw out of some of that chart over the middle stuff, you saw Luakon also end up with a pick six, by the way, on Thursday night. I'm going with Edmonds in this one, just simply for what's happening with the Saints offense and these little short dump offs and Derek Carr, who I thought was going to help the Saints get to the playoffs, but I'm hoping the Patriots decide to trade for him before the trade deadline.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Yeah. All right. Let's see.
We're back to now.
We're back to current.
And Will, by the way, Will just posted. Thank you, Will, as always, that Kareem Hunt is active. So another reason for Jerome Ford being the third of those three that we talked about earlier.
Gotcha. Yep. Rudy Ford or Kyle Hamilton. What are you thinking, Sean?
I'm okay with starting Rudy Ford over Kyle Hamilton. He's had a pretty good run here the last few weeks, and I can trust him more, I think, than Kyle Hamilton. So yeah, I have no problem with Rudy Ford.
Gotcha. Where are you at, Ricky?
I'm right in line with Mr. Sean in this one. Let's roll with Rudy Ford on this one.
Nice. All right. So we have some league settings here. 1 point per tackle, 4 points per sack. Start one player for lunch table legend. David Long, Hufanga, Holcomb, or Javon Holland. What do you guys think? What do you think, Sean?
I am leaning towards one of the Dolphins on this one. Probably Holland, actually. I know the. Did I get it wrong? What was it, Long?
We don't have here for
Sean, you're a great sport, my friend. No. You're a great sport putting up with me, man. I'm with you. I lean toward the Dolphins as well, but in this case, I think I'd lean towards the linebackers. And if you look at Holland's, he got off to that great start the first couple of weeks, but his points and tackles have done like this, and so for those that means down, just to make sure we're clear. And while Long has been trending in the opposite direction, so up.
Yeah.
And so I'm leaning for Long on this one. And if you think about how much Philadelphia is trying to run the ball. And so I just think that sets up well for Long as well. So I'm going to go with Long and lunch table legend. Sean does have a good argument as well for Holland, but I'd lean towards Long myself.
Got it. All right. He's got one more question. Half point PPR, start one tight end, Musgrave, Njoku, Everett. What do you think, Sean?
By the way, Deshaun Watson is active. That's what I'm looking at on the side over here, just as you're considering that.
Well, that boost Njoku there, I think. Njoku or Everett, I believe is who I would go with. I don't know who I would choose between the two. I might lean Everett here, just for fun.
Where are you at, Ricky?
Wow, interesting. I am actually leaning towards Musgrave on this one. Denver is ranked in the bottom 2, if I remember correctly, for giving up points to tight ends. And so Man, I just got a feeling this is Musgrave's week finally, and so and Njoku with the whole burn thing, Everett really hasn't done anything, so he would be last of the three on this one for me. So I'm leaning towards Musgrave on this one. Sorry to split it on you, lunch table legend, one vote for each, but I'm on the Musgrave train.
Yeah. All right, here we are. Fantasy Football 101 says for flex, Jamison Williams or Miko Hardman. I'll raise my hand for Williams as a Lions fan, but what do the real analysts think there, Sean? Where are you leaning?
I will probably lean Williams this week as well, just because I do, expect him to get a few long bombs thrown his way, possibly a touchdown. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hardman turned around and caught fire with the Chiefs as well, though. This week, yeah, Williams for me.
Gotcha. Where are you at, Ricky?
Yeah, I'm going with Jameson Williams as well. I mean, great to see Hardman back with the Chiefs. He should know the offense. How many touches he's going to get this week? I'd rather take the gamble on Jameson Williams. Give Hardman a chance to get indoctrinated in, and just and you're hoping for a touchdown from Williams somehow in this. The other thing to lean towards Williams also is that Marvin Jones is out for personal reasons today, so he should pick up additional snaps this week as well. So another reason to go Williams over Hardman.
There we go. In a 1 QB league, would you suggest dropping Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud for Kyler Murray? Would you drop either of those two guys to pick up Kyler Murray? I'm assuming because of the injury is on the waiver wire. Sean.
So this has to be redrafts. I would drop Stroud for Murray. He's been good, but we know what Murray's potential is, and I feel like Lawrence is probably the most consistent, solid of those without fluctuating too low or too high. So I would drop Stroud for Murray.
You agree, Ricky, or?
Absolutely agree. I would be trying to stash him before the games start this week, particularly with Stroud on bye anyway. So I'd be dropping Stroud and picking up Murray. Sean hit it right on the head. I mean, Murray has top 5 potential at the quarterback position. Stroud, like what I'm seeing, but I don't see him being a top 5 quarterback for the rest of the season. So whereas I still think Lawrence has the opportunity to do that, or at least top 8 type thing. So absolutely run over, pick up Murray before somebody else does.
There you go. All right, here we are.
I do everything I've read, by the way. I do expect Murray to be playing next week. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely do that as well, for sure, for that.
All right. Is it time to consider cutting bait with Rachaad White if he puts up another dud today? What do you think, Sean?
If you have a better option out there, yeah. Anybody that's not performing, if you have a better option out there on waivers or on your bench, yeah, bench them, cut them, whatever you got to do.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
I think Rachaad White's good for a solid 6.5 points today. I mean, so okay, why was all the buzz with Rachaad White this offseason? Fournette was gone, no one really on the backup. Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent. Keyshawn Vaughn, which holy cow, hard to believe he still has a job. I think I could outrun him, to be honest with you, at my age. But yeah, so he's a guy, and unfortunately, just because they're getting playing time, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get points out of it. And it depends what else is out there, but I would not hesitate for a moment if there's something even slightly better or potential upside of taking the gamble and moving on from White. Their offensive line is just really struggling as well in the run game.
Got it. All right. Here we are. How are we feeling about Wagner rest of season? Can Brooks have better production? What do you think, Sean?
I think everybody's overreacting over this bad game Wagner had last week. This guy's still phenomenal at his age. Could Brooks have better production? Yeah, he could, but Wagner's right there with him. I'm not letting that one bad game scare me off of him.
Yeah, I'm actually just pulled up Wagner's tackle numbers. So he only had a couple last week, but well, a couple of tackles, a couple of assists. Prior to that, well, the Panthers game was so-so as well, but 3 of the 5 games have been pretty solid for Wagner. Look, he is 33 years old, and if I was taking a bet for the rest of the season, even though Brooks is coming off an injury, he's performed quite well and has continued to improve as the season has progressed. So if you're asking if we had to pick between the two for the rest of the year, I'd actually lean with Brooks, even though
Yeah.
Wagner's playing the mic. Just the age, he is slowing down. I think I mentioned in a previous show, but my son found someone had done an analysis of Wagner, and while he's getting counting stats, his actual performance has not been that great when you look at how he's performing on the field itself. So,
Gotcha. All righty. Well, so we've got about 10 minutes left. Get your questions in if for your start sits for today. But I do want to take us on a little side tangent. I kind of teased it at the beginning of the show, but last week I was in the chats. We were talking Scott Fishbowl. We were talking Kings Classic. So here I am now on the show and giving Ricky the time to really address this with me in front. I got close. I was going undefeated. I was trying to make my way up to Ricky in the the 100s of Scott Fishbowl, and like Icarus, flew a little too close to the sun and lost last week after all of that talk. What do you got to say, Ricky?
well, Nathan, I appreciate the fact that you are trying to make this a competition between the two of us first. It's not feeling like much of one right now, but appreciate that you are making an effort to make the competition. So I've got my Scott Fishbowl shirt on. I noticed you had yours on as well. I'm in the hostess division, even though I got the Starbucks version. Every Saturday and Sunday morning, I have to get up and go and get Starbucks. So, but anyway, it's been great. I'm in the low 300s right now. I'm at 303 right now, so 11-1. So I think theoretically, if I go 2-0 this week, I will have already qualified for the playoffs. So excited about that. And Nathan, I pulled out my binoculars and I saw that you were now down to the 900 range, which isn't too bad. Now, Sean, I'm not. I see you
I'm way
laughing,
down
but
there.
yeah, I think
Yeah, I'm way down there.
I need the mega binoculars to see where you are right now.
I'm just happy to be included. That's where I'm at. No, I'm sitting
Yeah.
in the 1700s, 8-4. My team took some pretty big hits with Dobbins and Aaron Rodgers the first week, and then I forget who I lost after that. But it was like first couple of weeks is just getting smacked in the face. So I'm tickled to death being 8-4 right now.
You're only five of the so there's 10 wins available left for the season, and you have to qualify with 13 wins. So you're only 5 away. So if you can go 50%, and you don't even have to win your matchup, you just have to get over the average and be able to knock in those wins. For me, I'm 10-2 right now, and if I just need 3 more wins and can get qualified for playoffs. But Ricky, so you're just 2 away, so you can lock it in this week with a double win against the average and against your opponent, huh?
That is correct, and look forward to. So it looks like we had a few more questions come in, Nathan. I want to try and get to them.
Yeah.
So as you're pulling up that next one, I do want to do a shout out for Fantasy Cares. I always forget if I think it's fantasycares.org or is it fantasycares.com? I forget which one it is.
I think it's .org.
.org. Please, I encourage folks to go out there and donate to a great cause as well. So let's jump back over to the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And sign up for Scott Fishbowl. You can't be in it if you don't sign up. So go scottfishbowl.com. All right. Thoughts on Cam Britt for the rest of the season from Richard Malone. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. He's has some really good games. A streaming option, but yeah, he's on my radar all season long.
Gotcha. What about you, Ricky?
Yeah, if you have to play cornerbacks, he is definitely solid. But look, with cornerbacks, you're going to have your ups and downs. He should have a few more ups and downs. But when he has those down weeks, don't necessarily drop him depending on what else is out there. Don't chase last week's points on the cornerback position.
All right. Who is the safety to target in New England, Detroit, Dallas, and Carolina? So I guess pick one per team. What do you think, Sean?
In New England, I'm taking Peppers over Duggar just based on fantasy production. Duggar just hasn't done it, and Peppers is racking up plenty of tackles. For the Lions, if Brian Branch is there, he's my guy. Once Gardner Johnson comes back, then we can debate stuff. But until then, it's Branch. And then for Dallas, this one's tricky. I still like Jaron Curse, but I don't feel like any of them are really just popping off. Wilson's right there with him, so just personal preference. I like Curse just a little more. Carolina, what a mess. So Chen's out. When Von Bell's back, I think he's the guy to own, or to have on your team to be rostered. Woods just hasn't done a whole lot for me, which he's injured as well. Sam Franklin is just a fill-in placeholder, so he is nothing more than that. And then somebody else did a lot last week. Matthias Farley, is that right?
Yeah, but don't count on him.
Yeah, don't chase that at all. Von Bell's the guy for me in Carolina right now.
Gotcha.
So we're relying on Peppers, Branch, and Von Bell. Dallas is the tricky one to your point.
Mm-hmm.
Hooker actually is playing the most snaps out of all those guys. Curse was in the 80s, Wilson's in the 70s. If I'm looking for someone for Dallas from a unique perspective, Marquise Bell played a linebacker type role. Now, he only played in the 50% of the snap range, but with Van Der Esch being hurt and all, you could see that potentially being upped as well. He moves into the Clark role as Clark moved into the Van Der Esch role. And so if I was potentially going to take a gamble for the rest of the year, or if this is dynasty even potentially, I'd be looking at potentially Marquise Bell for the Cowboys.
Gotcha. All right. Got a couple minutes left here before we're done. But Lunch Table Legend says, love the content. Thanks, guys. I don't like James Cook or DJ Moore this week. Is that crazy? Start two of these players over them. McLaughlin, Warren, Palmer, Zay Flowers, Kareem Hunt, double question mark. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I'm not big on James Cook. DJ Moore with a new quarterback in there could be a disaster for him. If I'm going to start any of these guys, I'm leaning towards Palmer. I kind of like Hunt's potential, with him being banged up worries me a little bit as well. Plus that rotation. I like Palmer and Flowers, I think, but I would might. God, would I put Flowers over Moore? Yeah, I think I would. Let's go Palmer and Flowers.
Gotcha. What do you think, Ricky?
I'm aligned with pulling out James Cook. There's no reason necessarily to start him, so that's an easy one. DJ Moore, when Bagent came in, and I heard on the radio this morning, it's supposedly Bagent, not Bagent, but let's go with that for now. So he actually targeted DJ Moore on several short throws late in the game, and so if he's going to throw to anybody, when he of his 170 yards, about 90 of them will go to Moore, and this is the Raiders defense, and so I'm going to stick with Moore on this one, and then I'm with Sean on Josh Palmer. So Palmer's 2 and Zay Flowers is 3 for me out of this group.
Gotcha.
I mean, if Moore does catches one of these little short passes and runs at 50 yards, you're just going to say, why didn't I start the stud? And so I'd run with Moore.
Fair point.
All right. Bryson Creighton need a DB. Bates, Ford, Williams, Hamilton this week and rest of the season. I would probably say, like, who's he starting this week? Does it remain rest of the season, or would you have someone else for the rest of the season? So what do you think, Sean?
It's not Hamilton. So I think I like Bates and Ford here. Between those two, I'm probably leaning Bates. I feel pretty confident with that.
And you're sticking with them this week and going forward?
I would, yes.
Okay. What do you think, Ricky?
Ding, 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 ding. I'm right along with Sean, and I'm going left to right in terms of the order of these folks.
Yeah.
Got it. All righty. Let's see. How would you rank these cornerbacks? Snead, Britt, and McDuffie. Sean?
I like McDuffie a little better than Snead. Do I want to put Britt in front of him? Would be my only question. Yeah, let's go Britt, McDuffie, Snead, just for fun.
What do you think, Ricky?
I'm aligned with my partner in crime here, Sean.
Nice.
That's the order I would go with them as well.
Nice. All right. And here we are.
I think as cornerbacks go, those are three excellent options in the big scheme of things. So I'd be comfortable with all three, but that's the order I'd go with.
Got it. All right. We're at the noon. We're at the 12 o'clock hour. We got two questions we're going to hit real quick. Sean Auguste. I'm assuming this is a D slot because it's Myles Garrett or Bobby Wagner. Is anyone starting a defensive end over a linebacker in a flex D spot? Sean, what do you think?
Depending on the scoring. Yeah. I would probably start Garrett over Wagner. Just sack potential going against, was it Gardner Minshew? Yeah. I'll take that.
Ricky, do you agree?
I absolutely agree, but Sean hit it right. It depends on the scoring system. My assumption is you get decent amount of points for big plays such as sacks and sack yards lost and so forth. If that's the case with Smith, the offensive tackle that Garrett would be going against, or actually he's been on the left side. I mean the other side. So I guess Raymond, the second-year guy, was really struggling, and with Minshew and all, I'd run with Garrett on this one, assuming the point scoring system makes sense for that.
All right, final question for week 7 of the Start Sit Show. Who should I start, Metellus or Jay Simmons? Sean.
I don't think the Packers give up a lot of points to safety. So I think they're actually the worst. So I might lean Metellus over Simmons this week.
I am checking that out now. So Kansas City on average is giving up about looks like about 30 points a game to safeties. And then San Fran, that Minnesota plays, is giving up oh crud. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't read it. It looks like they're break roughly about the same, though I can't read the exact numbers. I got to get a better set of glasses, apparently. But in this particular case, I'm actually going to run with. Actually, I think I'm going to go with Justin Simmons on this one, folks.
Gotcha. All righty. Well, there it is. There's week 7 start sit from the IDP guys. Want to just remind everyone, if you like this show, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And hit the little bell to alert you, to notify you when we have new content, new videos popping up. We've got 3 or 4 shows a week now in season, so it's really, really great, putting out a lot of great content. And we're here doing this Start Sit live show every Sunday, and there's a waiver wire show on Wednesdays that's also live that you can ask your questions to. I'm Nathan on Twitter at Nate Cheat. Sean IDP Diddy Combs at Sean8386, and Ricky Rodrigue at RickyRod66 on Twitter. With that, any last minute statements? How are you guys going to do this week in your matchup? Sean, you go first, and then go for it, Ricky. Yep.
Dolphins over Eagles. Sorry, Steve.
What about you, Ricky? Saints over anybody?
Oh, man, let's not go there. Let's not go there with the Saints. But I wish everyone a fantastic week. Hopefully, we helped you with your lineups and have great success this week. And look forward to seeing you all here back next week. And actually check out the website at IDP Guys. Great website, great tools, and great information.
Yep. IDPguys.org. Become a subscriber. Get into our Discord and have full-time access to all of us. So it's great. Great little resource that we provide. But go Lions. I'm hoping they beat Baltimore today. And for that, we'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everyone.